Where are you on your personal and career journey right now? Ever pause and wonder if the current path is the right one for you for the next 10 to 20 years? Or are you getting stuck in the daily grind and fires and blindly moving forward? Well, if you're like me and many other women over 45, you're hopefully reconsidering your career aspirations in the context of your own personal reflection. Maybe it's just been a nagging thought, or maybe there's been a change in your life or an unexpected detour that's helping you think a bit. Maybe you're like me or my guest today, or many other women I've met who have intentionally paused to redefine, reimagine, and redesign their life going forward. Today, I'm excited to be joined by another amazing woman leader, Faizun Kamal. Faizun will share her story of how this best-selling offer, Faizun will share her story of how this best-selling author went from a corporate executive role to reimagining her future and creating her perfect fit. So join us more to hear about her introspective journey, her insights, and how you can do the same personally, professionally, and create your perfect fit.
Welcome to Life Reimagined with Wendy. I believe we were fortunate to grow up in a unique time in our culture that is helping shape our lives over the age of 45. We are redefining what our lives are like today and pushing the boundaries of what a 45-year-old, a 50-year-old, a 65-year-old, or years young and true adventurer really looks like. Many of us are newly blazing trails and carving out our own purpose-driven path forward. So join me for insights and interviews that show you can face these unexpected challenges and you can come out on the other side stronger and happier. You can make your best days ahead and you can reimagine your next.
Okay, so welcome, Faizun. And I want to make sure everyone hears, I'm asking, am I saying your name correctly?
Yes, ma'am, you are. Hi, Wendy.
Hi, it's so good to have you with me today. And tell me where your name originates from, because it's beautiful.
Oh, thank you. Faizun is Arabic, and it's interesting. It means one who's successful at what she does.
Seriously?
Yes. It's a little lofty, but I try to do what I can.
But your parents predestined you, which is lovely.
You know, in our culture, Wendy, names are imbued with a lot of meaning.
Mm-hmm.
And when the newborn arrives, there's a lot of thought given to the name and what it means, because it's a belief really that whatever you're naming your child, they will grow up to be that, or they will grow up to have those qualities.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It's very interesting. It's very interesting.
That actually is really something I learned today. And look, we're 30 seconds into our discussion. I'm already learning from you today, which is awesome.
You're so sweet. Thank you.
Well, so Faizun Kamal is an award-winning franchise coach, nationally renowned public speaker, and author of the best-selling book, The Right Franchise for You, Escape the 9-to-5, Generate Wealth, and Live Life on Your Terms. She is a former Fortune 15 executive. And I love the self-description of being a corporate refugee. In 2015, decided that she had to make a change and decided not to return to a life of high stakes, high stress, unbalanced, unhealthy life with very little time for family. Hopefully it sounds like many of you probably can identify with that. So she began a deeply introspective journey to really intentionally redesign her career and her life. She focuses on the topic of taking responsible risk, which I love that part too, responsible risk, to create career pivots and make the leap from executive to entrepreneur. And I also like your statement that you set the world on fire by being authentically you. So welcome, Faizun. And you have a copy of your book that you can hold up, right? And I know we're going to come back to it in a bit, but I want to make sure at the beginning, in case anybody has to come back to the discussion later, this is a copy of your book and it's available on Amazon right now.
It is available on Amazon right now as a Kindle, Wendy.
Great.
Last week it came out as an audio book on Audible, and then on September 1st, it'll be available in bookstores nationwide.
Oh, very exciting. Congratulations. Those are wonderful steps. So. Well, okay. So as you know, as this is the Life Reimagined podcast, you're going to be sharing your story and your insights. So tell me a little bit more, take us back and how your story, your life, something that didn't turn out as planned, major detour. So tell us, give us a little bit of background about how you got to meet with me today.
Absolutely. I love that. First of all, let me just say, I absolutely love the name of your podcast.
Yay!
Yeah. I mean, Wendy, think about it, right? Over the last 4 or 5 months, our lives as we have known it, it's been upended.
Oh, yes.
Millions of people have lost their sources of livelihood. And consequently, many people who are at home for the first times in their lives, they're starting to take a hard look at their careers and their lives and saying, if I were to reimagine my life, if I were to reimagine my career, what would that look like? So your podcast is so apropos, my friend. Just want to kind of start off with that. And just delighted and so honored to be here with you, really.
Thank you.
I would say a couple of things, Wendy. And maybe I'll use some phrases as sort of markers in this journey that I have had, just to give people a sense of how completely foolish it is to imagine. And we've all done this when we were teenagers, right? We knew exactly how our lives were going to turn out.
Oh, yeah.
And, right? We knew exactly.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Older and life is like, really? You think? Okay, I'll tell you. So for me, I would say, Wendy, I have the first phrase I'll use is, I have always colored outside the lines. So think of when we were kids, right?
Oh, right. Yep.
Faizun, be careful, pay attention.
Right. You get in trouble.
You'll get in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
And my friend, I have found that is a huge disservice that we do to our children when we bring them up with this mindset. I guess from an early age, I was a rebel, and I literally and figuratively colored outside the lines. Literally when I was a child with my crayons, and very figuratively as I got older and began my career path. I've done different things over the last 3 decades, Wendy. My career really began in the multilateral banking world. I used to work with the World Bank.
Okay.
I then moved on to working with the Swiss and Canadian development agencies, did that for a number of years, traveled the world. And even in those early stages, Wendy, there was this very gnawing sense in me. And, I'm talking about me when I was in my early mid-20s.
Okay.
The path just didn't feel like my own. And that's about all I could figure out.
Grasp at that time. Right.
This was not me. It was not my thing. But I didn't quite know what my path was. That continued for many, many years, Wendy. From there, I went on to get my first master's at Johns Hopkins in Baltimore, Maryland. Did that, began working for an international development organization. Same thing, traveled the world, set up country programs. I was doing a lot of work around public health. Really good, meaningful work. But again, it didn't satisfy something in me, and I just couldn't put a finger on it. And very frankly, for some of your listeners, they may feel the same, where they feel a little bit guilty. I should feel grateful for having a job that provides ABC, that does ABC.
Right.
Why am I not feeling super duper happy? There's nothing wrong in that. I think you have to question and be very, to use the word you used earlier, to be intentional. Yes. Is this really what you want to be doing? Is this really the greatest impact you can be creating? I didn't feel that, certainly. Fast forward, I began, and this was my last chapter before I started doing what I do now. I started in the corporate world, and I was with a company that we all know by one name, and I was with them for 8.5 years. Okay. Again, Wendy, the work was good. It provided a lot to the people, to our end beneficiaries, but it wasn't me. And, anyone looking at me from the outside would say, Faizun, you're an immigrant. You truly have achieved the American dream.
Right. Absolutely.
right? You have a big title. You work with this company everybody knows by name. You do have the corner office. You do have a small team of people. There was a P&L I managed, right? All of the stuff that in our minds we've kind of grown up with as
Right.
aspiring towards.
Right.
But my friend, the 8.5 years, my soul died a little bit every single day. And the quest continued. And then in 2015, I had seen the writing on the wall. The company had been having wave after wave of layoffs. That particular one, my boss came to me and said, Faizun, your position's been eliminated. I will never forget that moment, Wendy. And maybe there are listeners of yours that might have experienced the same thing.
I'm sure, right.
Particularly now with so many millions that have.
Yes.
The moment he said that to me, the feeling was as though this big boulder that had been on my chest, someone had finally lifted it. And I could breathe, like truly like take a deep, big, fresh breath of air inside me. I'll never forget that moment, because what that said to me was the alternative is not where we want to be. I was absolutely not leading my best life. That kind of began my journey. And for the first time in my career, Wendy, I said, I can't just headlong go into another job. This has not given me what I have been looking for. So what exactly is it? Despite what I just said to you, I did immediately jump back into job search.
Well, but that's what you come with this expectation. Well, that's what I'm supposed to do next, right?
100%. You know, my daughter at the time, she was 17, 18 months.
Yeah.
And so all the things we think about, right? Real life stuff.
Yes.
We have mortgage, we need to have health insurance. We need to, right?
Oh, right.
All that stuff. And 3 months into my job search, and I'll never forget this, and I talk about this in the book, that ended up being the last job interview call, as God is my witness, I will ever have in my life.
Yeah.
The gentleman who I was interviewing with, he would have become my direct supervisor had I gotten the position. And, you know, we had this conversation, and then at the end of it, he said, okay, all right, so Faizun, you know, you've mentioned to me, you have a little baby. As you know, it's a very fast-paced industry. We are moving at the speed of light. You know, there's fires that need to be put out every single day. How do you think you're going to be able to manage your work responsibilities with a baby at home? So number one, I'm not an HR person, but any HR person will tell you.
You can't ask that question. Yep. It's off limits.
Right? It's like,
right. Tells you enough about their culture right away.
Right? Very indicative of that, my friend.
Yes.
Very.
Yes.
And so I don't remember exactly what I said, but I said, I took a much longer pause than I think he had expected. And I said, you know, that's an interesting question you asked me, but let me ask you a question in turn. Do you think that perhaps the tech industry would be better served if we actually treated human beings as though they had full lives? Because my personal life and my career, they're not in two parallel lanes.
Right.
It's all smushed up. And to act as though that isn't the case, I don't know what you think, but I think that's a pretty dumb thing to do. Pin drop silence, right? And then I said, how would I handle my job responsibilities if I wanted to work at your company?
Right.
I would do it the way I have done everything all my life. But I will tell you, in this next iteration, my family and my child will come first, and everything else will revolve around that. Needless to say, last call, never heard from them. That was the end.
But what a blessing, right?
Huge,
right?
Huge. In that moment, Wendy, that is when it hit me, and I said, Faizun, you need to stop searching for happiness where you first lost it.
Yes.
What is wrong with you? You went right back into that world that has been making you unhappy, right? And my friend, and obviously I'm being a little dramatic here, but my point is, how many of us have done that?
Yep.
We need a job, we are unhappy, we don't like the toxic culture, the bosses are crazy, we have no personal fulfillment. We don't have professional fulfillment. And yet, boom, we get right back into it, except the company is different, but it's the same stuff.
Same stuff. And actually, I think you're right. And there's probably many people who are listening right now going through this and maybe on autopilot. I've got to get that next whatever, right? Absolutely agree.
Autopilot.
Yep.
So that was the second thing, right? Stop looking for happiness where you first lost
Yep.
it. And then the third thing that came in my journey, Wendy, was, how do I say this? First, really think hard and imagine exactly the kind of life you want to live.
Mm-hmm.
Once you have that picture, very methodically proceed to take out everything in your life right now that isn't that.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I did, my friend. I literally went through, I mean, I'm making it sound super clinical.
No, I know it. Exactly. But you also, the people that listen to this podcast are also women who are leaders who get things done. So they will identify with what you just shared. Yep. You have to create that vision.
You have to, right? It's
Yep.
what do you want?
Right. And that is a hard question.
That's a super hard question.
It is. It's a really hard question.
It is a very hard question. I mean, I'll tell you, when I was going through that phase, and probably we're talking at this point 4 or 5 months,
Mm-hmm.
What I decided to do, this might not be anybody else's path, but for me, what worked was being a type A personality, always being on. I had to will myself to just be. And I said, okay, Faizun, you don't quite know what you're going to do next, but you're going to slow down. You're
Mm-hmm.
certainly not doing any more job interviews at organizations that frankly you don't care for.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that big looming question, so then what exactly am I going to do?
Right.
Instead of trying to get at that constantly, continuously, I took a step back. I started a home garden. I'd always loved gardening, but I had on that scale, I'd never done that. I said, what do I have to do all day? I don't have anywhere to be.
Mm-hmm.
Then a home garden. It's interesting. The things I remember are the visceral things, Wendy.
Right. Right.
I remember spending hours, right, in my back garden, the sun beating down on my face and feeling the warm, moist earth running through my fingers. I remember bringing a basket in of fully grown, luscious purple, velvety skinned eggplants, right? Still warm to the touch from the sun, right?
Mm-hmm.
The joy that it gave me, I can't describe it. And in a very weird way, Wendy, when I was not so focused on what am I going to do next? I have to make money. Oh my God, I have to support my family, right?
Right.
You all think about when I stopped doing that, there was a grace with which the answers came.
Mm-hmm.
And it was one thing led to another. And I found this world of franchises,
Mm-hmm.
of, owning your own business, truly owning your own business, not being an employee any longer. In what ways would that do for all of the things that I had just said to myself I wanted my life to look like?
Right.
And you read the subtitle of my book. Those 3 things: escape the 9 to 5,
Right.
wealth,
Grow your wealth.
and live life on your terms.
Yep.
Those are not my words, my friends. Those are the 3 things that every client I have ever placed in a franchise have said to me.
Oh, very good.
As the reason why they no longer want to be part of the corporate world.
Yeah.
After being an employee. Faizun, I've been on the corporate hamster wheel.
Yeah.
I need to escape this 9 to 5. I know, by the way, it's not 9 to 5. It's more like a 9 to 7, 9 to 8.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. No vacations without email chain. Yep.
You're never disconnected, right?
Nope. Never disconnect.
And then generate wealth. People who've said, if I were to remain in my space, in my industry, I'd never be able to retire, ever.
Right.
I need to be able to forget leaving something for my family. I can't even support myself until I'm dead. I can't.
Right.
And then last but not least, and I think this is really probably the most important piece, Wendy, that I would surmise is the reason that people come to me. It is, and they don't say this when they first come to me. They first come to me and they say, can you help me find a business?
Right.
Sure.
Right.
What
Sure.
they're really saying is, I am unhappy with some aspect of my life and career right now. And I'm wondering, I don't know, but I'm wondering if I did something different in my career, like, oh, start my own business, would it help me redesign and recreate a life that I love? Because I don't have a life that I love right now, because I have so much stress, fill in the blank, stress,
Right.
anxiety, frustration, right?
Right. I think one of the key things that you mentioned was the lead in your own life aspect. We're so busy leading, whether you're a mom and your kids are in the church, or, you're at school activities or church activities or your social club or at the project at work that needs to be done. And we're so busy leading in all these areas that we, especially I think as women, because we're always taking care of everybody else, we don't stop and ask that question. So one of the parallels I'm hearing in your world versus with mine is that instead of going, what business am I going to create next, or what work am I going to do? I created my vision of my life and then worked backwards from that.
That's exactly
like you did.
That is exactly right. Exactly right. So I will tell you, for me, it is, I truly have. So the first thing I said, I want to be able to have a business, or again, I didn't know if it was going to be a business or
Right.
what, but at the center of it would not be the job or the business. It would be my family.
Right.
I have been able to do that. I now have a schedule where I work with absolutely amazing clients. But guess what, Wendy? I do it on my schedule.
On your schedule. Right.
Right?
And it works around your life versus the other way around.
Versus the other way around. If she needs me, if there's something happening pre-COVID,
Right.
something happening in the school,
Right.
I can literally drop something. Because these are my clients who came to me, I can pick up the phone and say, hey, Wendy, I'm so sorry. I need to run to my daughter's school. Do you mind if we schedule? Right? It's a very different way of being. I think the other piece, this is something that a lot of people don't talk about, but I think it's always at the back of our minds. There's a sense, if I actually do something that I love, the money's not going to be there.
Right.
It's like one of those unspoken things.
Mm-hmm.
But then I'm here to tell you, my second year of running my own business, I exceeded my corporate income.
Wow.
Income was at its height.
At its height.
Yes, it is possible. I'm proof of that. Right? And it's night and day, Wendy. It's night and day. When you know what you do, you bring that life energy, that your clients, believe you me, people are not stupid. They understand that. They get that. They feel that. Versus, yeah, well, my boss told me I need to get this done, so I have to get this done.
Right. Let's get a meeting. Let's get into the committee together. I know. And when you look back, don't you go, oh my God, how much time was wasted in committee discussion over discussion? I mean, it's just crazy. But so did you have any trouble disconnecting from who you thought you were, your identity? Because that was something that was difficult for me because I was a national nonprofit gal and I was this, and this. So did you have any period of, wow, am I, redefining who you are, or personal label, I guess okay, not for you.
I did, because even when I began with the company, I knew I was not going to be there for a long time. Okay. I almost felt this is going to come out sounding really wrong, but I was always very conscious that I was playing a role.
Okay.
So it's almost like an actor or an actress, right? They go in. Right. It was a job. It had responsibilities. I put on that mask, I put on the face, I put on the suit every morning. It was a role. I went and I came back. So no, it was like I said, it was when I got the news of my layoff. Yeah. It wasn't even a blessing in disguise. It was a straight up blessing.
It was an immediate blessing for you.
It was literally like the buttoned up suit that had been stifling me. I unbuttoned it, dropped it on my office floor, and I walked away. No, my friend, completely the opposite.
But along those same lines, did you have any moment of, we've touched already on expectations, right? We were raised a certain way, and your life is going to go this way, this way, this way, this way. And I don't even culturally, you may also have other ways you were raised, or I don't know if it's mores or, in mindsets that we were raised with. And again, not in a negative way, right? But our society has drastically changed. But did you have any challenges then wrestling with those expectations and really confronting them?
100%. Yes.
Okay.
It wasn't so much from me internally. My mother, bless her, right?
Right.
Nobody loves me the way
With
my mom.
love, right? With the best of intentions and love, right?
When she heard that I was going to start my own business, I'd stopped looking for jobs. I mean, I will leave the actual language out, but she essentially said to me, "Are you crazy?
Crazy? I know. Are you crazy?
Are you crazy? Do you think it's just you?
Right.
And you have a child. You have a house. You live in one of the most expensive neighborhoods in this country.
Yeah.
What is wrong with you?"
Right.
It's that first year of being in business. Let me tell you. Whew.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how many, and this is sort of the underbelly. It's not all roses and unicorns.
Nope, it's not.
Right? When, oh my God, Faizun, did you make the right decision?
Right. Is this, did I do something? Right. Mm-hmm.
Right? I haven't made any money.
Right.
I don't have any clients.
Or I haven't made enough X, or I haven't made enough networking calls, or I haven't done A, B, C, and D, right?
Am I cut out for this life?
Right.
I thought maybe I was just, pretending to be big and bad in my head, but I'm really not.
Right.
All those doubts.
I know.
Particularly at night, Wendy, you know this, my friend.
You absolutely.
A very similar path like I have. It's at night when the big monsters come out from under the bed and you're like, oh my God.
Right. Because you've all the busy stuff that you can get distracted with in the day. All the busies go away and you're left alone with your thoughts.
That's exactly right.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, you do, those things come out. I don't care if you grew up in the developing world, you grew up in the United States, you grew up in a white, Hispanic, Black, Asian, it does not matter. There are these, to use your social mores, right? These
these mores,
that we hold, it's the gospel truth. For example, one gospel truth was go to school, get good grades, interview and get in with a good company, keep your head down and just do your work, and you will be secure when it comes to your financial future.
Absolutely.
Do you think that is true in the world that we live in today?
No. And the other part was, just keep your nose to the grindstone, and then you'll retire, and then you can go play.
Then right? You have to put that on hold.
Yes.
Some magical number, some magical age. Huge. The flip side to that coin, Wendy, is the other notion that we all grew up with that said, what do you mean?
Right. Wait a minute.
You're going to start a business? Are you mad? It is so risky.
Right.
So it's all of these things coming at you at the same time. And my friend, something I have always said, and I try to live my life and run my business that way. It's that at the end of the day, I will listen to you. I'll hear what you have to say. But at the end of the day, my agency for my life is in my hands, not in your hands. You don't pay my bills. You don't take care of me. It's not in my employer's hands. It is always in my hand. And I think that's probably one reason why my transition could have been much harder. It was hard. It could have been much harder, but I never had that expectation that if I lose my job, I am nowhere. There was never that, because I was fully in control of who I was and what my identity was. Sure, I'm an employee. I'm a very well compensated corporate slave, but I know who I am. Beyond that.
Yeah. So were there, I guess you've already shared that there were some surprising outcomes or unexpected, right? So looking back, what would be probably your most surprising unexpected outcome? Something that you go, either you looked around and go, wow, I got everything I wanted and I didn't think that would happen, or that you've got this amazing garden and that you never thought at this age you'd be doing this. So what's one of the most surprising outcomes?
Wendy, I think it would have to be, I so love what I do. I never felt I would find something that I would love this much, my friend.
Oh, that's
You
good.
know,
Yeah.
one of my favorite poets, Khalil Gibran,
Mm-hmm.
he wrote the very famous book, The Prophet.
Yep.
I'm going to butcher this, but he said something like, and it makes me tear up. He said something like, work is love in action. And every day, my friend, this is what I do. It is
Work.
love in action. Work is love in action. Again, maybe I'm not saying it the way he said it, but it's a poem called Work. That's what the poem is called. It's called Work. Right?
Which I don't even know that there are many poems called Work because
it literally is. I'll send you the thing later on. See, it makes me, he says, when you love the work that you do, if you are braiding a garland, it's as though you're braiding a garland for your lover.
Mm-hmm.
When you love what you do and you're a baker and you're baking a bread for the person that is the most dear to you for their meal. It's so lyrical, it's so beautiful. It makes you, it really takes, it takes me back, Wendy. It humbles me because we live in such a transactional world, my friend.
And
I do work, you're my client, you pay me, boom, we are done. I never want to see you ever again. In most instances, that is the norm.
mm-hmm.
I'm lucky, I'm so blessed. I'm lucky to have found a world where I work with partners I trust.
Mm-hmm.
Many of them have become my friends. I am lucky because I work with clients that I love. I'm very picky. I don't work with everyone because I know what it is like to work with people you don't care for.
Yeah. And you can lead in your life and decide that's not what you want to do.
That is not what I want to do. Not anymore. I did it for many years, like all of us, but not anymore. It's really humbling to be able to do that. Because I know how my life has changed from when I was a corporate employee to what it is now, and if I can help even one person create that kind of change, I've done what it is I intended to do.
Well, and I hadn't actually put this together before you and I spoke today, but because I think the way you are so descriptive, and I'm going back to your garden. I mean, the words you chose, I can feel the eggplant and the sun on the skin of the eggplant. So I think there's an awakening of the other senses that we had been kind of shutting down for so long.
Absolutely.
And I think that's a piece of what I know for me, less stress, the happiness. And I think another challenge is having patience with having this unfold before you. When we, again, are scripted or it's ingrained in us that there are certain steps we have to take. And having patience with not knowing is, I think, one of the challenges. So I just wondered if you feel like your senses are more awake. And I mean, I can tell already the way you discuss things that you're happier. Is there anything that, like gardening, like this is the first year I've ever had a garden. I never thought I'd be a gardener. So any other new labels you've taken on that you didn't expect to be? I mean, franchise owner, author, did you think you'd be an author and an influencer in the way that you are, or a mentor?
No, it's the book, right? The book, it's a weird, odd, marvelous, mystical, magical thing that happened. I've always loved books. I've always loved writing. It comes fairly easily to me. I've always kept a journal. I love writing. And when I saw the impact I was creating in clients' lives, it almost it wasn't me writing, it was something else directing my hands to say, this needs to come out. And the book is filled with client testimonials and stories. The intent is that someone, my friend, this book is a love letter to one person out in the world. And that person is someone who is probably very much like you and I. They are incredibly skilled, very talented, very empathetic. They're really good at what they do, but they feel that they are caught and they don't have options. And it's an incredibly disempowering place to be in, right? Particularly as women.
Right.
And the book is a love letter to that person to say, stop. You don't know that yet. You absolutely can have a different version of your life if that's what you want. Maybe you don't want it, and that's cool.
Right.
But if you do, there is a way to map out a new, different, better life.
Mm-hmm.
This book walks you through what that looks like. So for me, it was a love letter to that one person. Like I said, it wasn't me writing it. There was something else that came through me that said, Faizun, you're being super selfish. You will be super selfish if you don't write this book. And that's how it started. And then, you know, it's like a snowball, right? When it goes down the hill, it starts to gather and get bigger and bigger. And that's what it's been. So it's incredible, Wendy. This is absolutely an unexpected part of the journey that, you know, 4 or 5 years ago, if you had said this to me, I would have laughed at you in the face, like, psh, stop it.
Forget it.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit more about your book, and actually the work that you're doing, because I also know, you know, again, with COVID, this is a very interesting time in our world, and a lot of people are really pausing, this is a nice part or a nice consequence of something we're going through. And so if anybody is considering their options, give me, you know, a little bit more so that they can come find you. Where can they find you on social media? Where can they find your book so that they can they can dive in a little deeper with you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I guess I'll start off by saying where they can find me. I'm on LinkedIn. I live on LinkedIn.
Okay.
I've also been told that apparently there's only one Faizun Kamal on LinkedIn, so I'm not that super hard to find.
And you spell it Faizun?
Got it.
Okay.
Kamal.
Kamal. Yes. Okay.
My email is a bit of a mouthful, but it's kind of easy to remember. It's Faizun at, one word, thefranchiseconsultingcompany.com.
Okay.
LinkedIn is really the best place to connect, and then send me a message if you'd like to chat more. I would say for your listeners as well, Wendy, yes, of course, they can find the book if they go on Amazon. If they wait a couple more weeks, it's going to be in bookstores nationwide. But if they send me a note, I would be happy to send them a copy with my compliments. Absolutely.
Oh, a special offer. Very good.
Special offer. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's the least I can do.
Well, actually, it's perfect timing because I want to end on a fun note. Okay, since we were raised in a unique cultural time, right? Women's Lib had just happened, and you know, our grandparents and parents weren't working in the world, weren't working in the way that we are now. They retired, they got the gold watch, and they did this and they did that. But we all of a sudden had television with the Cosby Show and all of these influences culturally that I think opened up a world of opportunities for women. So I feel like we grew up at a really unique time. We learned from our baby boomer parents, and we have the millennials coming up behind us with a whole different, mindset. So tell me something, whether it's a television show, movie, song, something from our 80s or 90s that that either always makes you smile or that was a moment for you growing up.
I will tell you my biggest childhood, one of the biggest childhood reminders I have is watching Sesame Street.
Oh, Sesame Street.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's interesting. My daughter watches it from time to time.
Mm-hmm.
And again, probably not what you're asking me, but this is always the connection in my mind. You know, these different characters on Sesame Street.
Yep.
Cookie Monster and Ernie and right?
And they have Grover and Big Bird. Yep.
Right? They have all of these different traits and characteristics that they bring. But one of the things that now in watching them with my child, one of the themes is cooperation, kindness, looking out for each other. You know, I want to eat all the cookies myself. Well, maybe that's not a good idea, right? Maybe you want to share with others, right? But it brings me back to something that my father has said all his life to my sister and I growing up, and he still does. It's something like, you know, I've given you guys the education, the access to the resources. The two of you can go out into the world and you can be absolutely anything. But there's one thing that you do need to be, and never forget this, you have to be kind. And my friend, I think we live in times where that is so true.
That is so true.
That is so true. Yeah. So I'd say that Sesame Street kindness, be kind.
Sesame Street and kindness.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Well, okay. So for those listening and viewing, because we will also post a video of this discussion, we will have notes. Yep. So the right franchise for you. And Faizun Kamal, Faizun Kamal. Find her on LinkedIn, or like I said, I'll have additional social media contacts listed in the notes. So thank you so much for being with me today. And I love your story. And I really hope that those listening not only are on their own introspective journey, but that they learn from you not only your insights and kind of your light bulb aha moments, but to consider franchise as well. So
fantastic, my friend. What a delight. Truly, what a delight. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
All right. And thanks everyone for listening in today. And please give us a thumbs up or give us a review and let us know what you think, or if you have any questions so we can get your questions back to Faizun. So thanks everyone for joining.